Hey guys, welcome back to IconPsych. This is the channel where we decode the mindset and psychology behind the world's most iconic celebrities. If you're new here, subscribe and join the community. Drop a like if today's video gives you something real to think about. Now let's get into it. Jennie Kim said something recently that stopped me completely. She said, "I usually have clear goals and a lot of confidence in myself. So I think I've never felt like my true essence has faded away. That's why instead of letting myself be influenced by the noise around me, I prefer to focus on my own emotions and principles." Read that again slowly. Because that single statement contains more psychological wisdom than most self-help books I've ever come across. She's not talking about being perfect. She's not talking about never struggling. She's talking about something far more rare and far more powerful. She's talking about never losing herself. And in a world that is constantly, aggressively trying to tell you who you should be, that ability to remain completely yourself under any amount of pressure is genuinely one of the most valuable psychological skills a human being can develop. Today, we're going to break down exactly what that means, and more importantly, how you can build it for yourself. Here's something I want you to think about honestly. Who were you 5 years ago? And who are you now? If you're being real, there's probably a gap, not just in terms of growth, but in terms of identity. Most people drift. Not dramatically, not all at once, but slowly, quietly, over time, the opinions of others start to shape your decisions. The judgment of people around you starts to influence how you speak, how you dress, how you present yourself to the world. You start editing yourself, softening your edges, shrinking your opinions, performing a version of yourself that gets the least
It's
amount of
always
friction from the outside world.
feeling
And one day you
myself
will
in whatever I
isn't
wear,
fully you
and
anymore. That's called
I'm
identity
really
erosion, and it happens to
owning
almost
that
everyone who lives under
confidence
significant
as
social
I
pressure.
said.
The louder the
to
outside world
see
gets, the
you
quieter your true
and
self becomes. Unless you build a specific psychological framework to prevent it, which is exactly what Jennie Kim did. Jennie said she has clear goals and a lot of confidence in herself. And I want to unpack that because most people misunderstand what that actually means psychologically. Self-clarity is not the same as self-confidence. Self-confidence is believing you can do something. Self-clarity is knowing exactly who you are and what you stand for, regardless of what's happening around you. It's the difference between knowing you can climb a mountain and knowing which mountain is actually yours to climb. Most people have some level of self-confidence. Very few people have genuine self-clarity. And the reason self-clarity is so powerful is that it acts as an internal compass. When you know clearly who you are and what you value, outside opinions lose their ability to redirect you. They become noise, not because you don't hear them, but because you have something stronger inside you than anything they can say from the outside. Jennie didn't accidentally develop this. She built it deliberately through years of staying connected to her own emotions and principles, even when everything around her was trying to reshape her into something more convenient for everyone else. Let's talk about noise for a second. Because in 2026, the noise has never been louder. Social media gives everyone a platform to broadcast their opinions about your life. Comment sections exist specifically to host the judgments of strangers, even the people closest to you, your family, your friends, your colleagues, carry their own expectations about who you should be and what you should do with your life. And all of that, combined, creates a constant psychological pressure to conform, to adjust, to become whoever generates the least amount of criticism from the loudest voices around you. Jennie faced a version of this that most of us will never experience. Millions of people with millions of opinions about her personality, her work ethic, her choices, her relationships, her future. And her response was not to fight the noise, not to argue with it, not to try to silence it. Her response was to simply stop, letting it reach the place inside her where her decisions were made. She said she focuses on her own emotions and principles instead. That's not avoidance. That's a sophisticated psychological boundary. She's not pretending the noise doesn't exist. She's choosing not to give it a seat at the table where her identity is decided. Here's what I find most fascinating about Jennie's approach. She specifically mentioned principles, not just emotions. Principles. And that word matters enormously in psychology. Emotions are temporary. They change based on circumstances, moods, and external events. If you make decisions purely based on how you feel in the moment, you will be inconsistent. You will drift. You will be vulnerable to whoever or whatever is making you feel the most strongly at any given time. But principles are stable. Principles are the values and beliefs you hold so deeply that they remain constant regardless of how you feel or what's happening around you. When Jennie says she focuses on her own emotions and principles, she's describing a two-layer system. The emotional layer helps her stay authentic and human. The principle layer keeps her anchored and consistent. Together they create something incredibly powerful, a person who is both genuine and unshakable. Someone who feels everything, but is moved off course by nothing. That combination is rare, and it's one of the primary reasons her identity has remained so distinct and recognizable throughout years of intense public pressure. I want to be direct about something that most people never fully confront. Losing yourself is not a small thing. It's not just an abstract philosophical problem. It has real practical consequences. When you lose your sense of self, your decision-making becomes inconsistent because you're no longer guided by your own values. Your relationships suffer because people can't connect with the version of you that keeps changing to meet their expectations. Your work suffers because you stop creating from a genuine place and start performing for approval. Your confidence collapses because confidence built on external validation is always fragile. It disappears the moment the validation stops. And most importantly, your sense of direction disappears. Because direction comes from knowing who you are and what you actually want, not from what everyone around you thinks you should want. Jennie's clarity about her own identity is not just psychologically admirable. It's the foundation of everything she has built. Her brand, her confidence, her creative output, her ability to make bold decisions like leaving YG and starting her own label. All of it flows from one source, knowing exactly who she is and refusing to negotiate that with anyone. Now let's make this practical, because everything we've talked about today is only valuable if you can actually apply it to your own life. The first thing you need to do is get clear on your own principles, not the values you think you should have, not the ones that sound good on paper, the ones you actually live by. The beliefs that guide your real decisions when no one is watching. Write them down, name them, own them, because you cannot protect something you haven't clearly defined. The second thing is to start noticing when you're performing versus when you're being genuine. Every time you edit something you are about to say, ask yourself why. Every time you change a decision because of what someone might think, notice it. Not to judge yourself, but to understand where your identity is still vulnerable to outside pressure. The third thing is to develop what psychologists call a values-based decision-making framework. Before making any significant decision, run it through your own principles first. Not through the filter of what your family thinks, not through the filter of what will get the most approval online, through your own values. Does this align with who I actually am? Does this move me toward the life I actually want? Those are the only questions that matter. Jennie has been running every decision through that filter for years, and the result is a person who, despite being one of the most watched and criticized celebrities on the planet, has never once appeared to lose the thread of who she truly is. And now I want to speak directly to you, because I think the most important thing Jennie's story teaches us has nothing to do with K-pop. It has everything to do with the quiet daily battle most of us are fighting. The battle to remain yourself in a world that is constantly, persistently, aggressively trying to turn you into whoever is most convenient for everyone else. And I want to tell you something honestly. That battle is worth fighting, because the version of you that remains fully intact, that never loses its true essence no matter how much pressure the world applies, that version of you is capable of things you haven't even imagined yet. The watered-down version, the edited version, the version that has been slowly shaped by everyone else's expectations. That version will always produce average results, because average results are what you get when you live an average distance from your true self. Jennie Kim lives right at the center of who she is, and from that center, she builds everything. You can do exactly the same thing. It starts with one decision. The decision to stop letting the noise have a vote, to focus on your own emotions and principles, to protect your true essence like it's the most valuable thing you own, because it is. Jennie Kim has faced more public pressure, more criticism, and more outside noise than most people will ever experience in a lifetime. And through all of it, she never lost herself. Not because she was immune to the pressure, but because she built something inside herself that was stronger than any of it. Self-clarity, a principle framework, and the quiet discipline to focus on her own emotions instead of everyone else's opinions. That's the real Jennie Kim. And that's the psychological blueprint that makes her truly iconic. If this video gave you something real today, share it with someone who is fighting to stay themselves right now. Subscribe to IconPsych. We'll see you in the next one.